So I'm here with Richard from Holden and Akiko from
Yes.
Panasonic,
Yes.
and I just wanted to ask you a few questions about this brand new X1 camcorder, and why it might be appropriate for our audience at Newsshooter. Richard, what can you say?
Well, there's a couple of key factors which I think make this really suitable. One is the 24mm wide end of the zoom, and it's got a 20 times zoom, which starts at 24mm and goes up to about 500mm, 35mm equivalent. The actual lens is an 8.8 to 176. It starts at 2.8, ramps to about 4.5 at the other end. The low light performance is exceptionally good. They've gone for a 1-inch sensor, so to get a compromise between low light ability, but also depth of field you can actually work with. And the autofocus for this is fantastically responsive, and the combination of that and the sort of medium-sized sensor means that you can keep more things in focus more of the time.
And you talk about 20 times optical zoom. Is there a digital zoom as well on there?
There is. If you're shooting HD, you get a further 10 times zoom, so you get a 30 times range in total, which is really quite astonishing. Also, if you're shooting HD, you get 5-axis image stabilization, which even at 30 times, even at that sort of zoom, you can hold it pretty steady. It looks almost tripod-like. So.
Kiko, can you talk a little bit about the image stabilization system in this camera?
Yes, so we carry new OIS system that's called Ball OIS. So that means we can have a very smooth OIS system. So it's newly developed.
But in 4K, it's just OIS. Is that right? And then in HD, you can add in 5-axis.
Yes, exactly. So in 4K qualities, we have 2-axis corrections, but we call it OIS system. But in HD mode, so 5-axis hybrid OIS system. So this is more strong performance.
And is that a sensor shift or digital 5-axis?
It's a combination together with an optical and electrical.
Okay, so it's digital and optical, but it's not shaking the sensor.
Exactly.
Okay. Richard, in terms of gammas and in terms of color, how does this shape up?
It shares all the Panasonic Professional scene files, so each one of these is also infinitely variable. So out of the box, it'll match any of the other Panasonic gammas. There's a new still mode gamma on this, which will let it match a GH4 as well, which is interesting. It doesn't have Vlog, but every other traditional Panasonic gamma, the film looks, the naturalistic video, the HD look are all built in.
So. No Vlog? Is there any chance to see Vlog on this model?
Oh yes, we can study, but we have a total Panasonic lineup. So the high-end model has the Vlog, and the middle class we don't. So we have to study the total lineup.
But you can get a 10-bit HDMI out of this one, or was it 8-bit?
It's 8-bit HDMI from this.
And if you go up to the next model, so
that's right. The DVX 200 will give you 10-bit 422 HDMI output for external recording. But I'd imagine for this sort of camera, which is more intended for run-and-gun style shooting and sort of events and news shooting, it's something which really less likely to use with an external recorder.
So let's talk about the news shooting application. What's this got in terms of outputs? Can you use this for live?
Yeah, we've got an HDMI output.
Sorry.
On the back here, there's HDMI output here. There is a professional version from the Panasonic Professional division called the UX180, which is an identical camera, but instead of having composite and RCA phono here, we've got SDI output, 3 gig SDI output, and timecode input.
But otherwise, it's the same camera.
Otherwise, the two cameras, there's identical performance and identical menu settings.
So this is essentially the top end of the consumer line, and then the other one is the bottom end of the professional line, and that's where they flip over, but actually more or less the same camera.
Exactly. So if you don't need the functionality of the timecode and the SDI outputs, this could be the one for you. There is a difference in the warranty as well. The professional warranty gives you an extra year, and a swap-out warranty, well, they'll bring you another if they can't repair it, but in all other respects, they are identical.
And how about the ability to stream live? Can you stream live from this camera in any way? Even can you webcast from this camera? Is there any option to do that?
No, you can. There is an option for a Wi-Fi dongle which will let you remote control it using the Panasonic iPad app.
That's setup options and stuff.
That's right, but there's no video streaming from it.
Okay, in terms of handling, I mean, I was playing it just now. The screen's nice. It has that sort of pop out. I mean, show people it's sort of this pop out screen.
That's right, and it's very. The other very nice thing about it is the
sorry.
OLED viewfinder. So it's a very high dot pitch, a 1700 dot OLED viewfinder. So terribly good when you're using that in bright sunshine. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's actually the same viewfinder in the DVX 200 as well.
Okay, and then autofocus.
The autofocus it's a new system they're using in this, which gives it much better performance than previous generations or their competitors really. And earlier on we saw a demonstration of this. It uses two different methods. There's a large movement autofocus which happens very quickly, and then a little wobble to absolutely perfect to lock onto focus. And you'll find the focus tracking is excellent too. Once it picks out a subject, or you can define an area or a subject, and then it will track that very successfully, even in quite challenging situations.
And can you assign that to a push button? Is there a push button to activate the autofocus? Is it customizable to a button?
It's a switch. So we've got a switch here, and there's also we can go to infinity, and there's a focus assist as well, which will give us push auto, and focus assist will give us a punch in and a peaking, which you can change the color of.
And lovely to see three rings.
That's right. You've got iris, zoom, and focus all on 3 different rings, and there's a couple of different focus modes. There's one for old-fashioned cameramen like me, which reacts as if you were actually moving the lens elements. But there's a faster mode as well. Maybe if you're used to more electronic forms of focus, which a faster movement will produce a larger movement in the focus.
So I mean, I was playing it again, and it's fly-by-wire, but it's kind of better fly-by-wire than you might.
And it gives you a couple of options as well. It lets you tune that, which is unusual at this sort of level.
NDs?
Yep, we've got 4 positions: off and quarter, 16 and 64. So all the ND you'll need with that. And you use NDs a little more often than you might on other camcorders because the sensitivity is so good.
In terms of codec and bit rate, what kind of 4K can it record? What is the specification of the 4K?
It will record 4K, UHD and 4K. 4K, the 4096 by 2160 is only at 24p, but 4K 50p and 60p is 150 megabit. So sorry, UHD at 50p and 60p is 150 megabit, and 100 megabit.
So there's only DCI in 24p.
That's right, only DCI in 24p. In UHD it can do 50 and 60p, and it's also got variable frame rates for HD. So you
How
can
high
shoot
can
up
you
to
go
60 frames in the variable frame rate mode, but you can. There's a burst speed, or it's not actually a burst speed. It will record as long as you like at 100 in PAL World, or 120 frames if you're in NTSC in 60 hertz mode. And that's called super slow motion. This is a lovely feature that you can assign to one button. So if you're shooting in HD, I tend to put it on this user 8 here, and then pressing it once, suddenly you'll be shooting 100 frames a second. Press it again, you go back into normal shooting. So
can I venture your opinion about how that image quality compares to 96 frames a second on the GH4?
I think it's considerably better than you get at 96 frames on the GH4. I also think it's a little better than I've seen on the DVX 200. It may be that the slightly more up-to-date electronics have improved the quality of the super slow-mo. But obviously, quality like that is subjective. We'll have to wait till there's some demonstration footage out there.
So, last thing on the sort of hardware side, audio. What have you got?
We've got 2 XLRs. In fact, this has been adopted in a lot of the new designs of Panasonic camcorders. We've got one at the front, so for a rifle mic or a radio mic, you've got conveniently one at the front, and then there's another one here at the back. So if you're taking a house feed from a sound system, it's not going to be, the wire isn't going to get in the way of the front of the camcorder. And we've got full phantom power controls and full switchgear here.
This side looks very much like a DVX 200 down here.
Yes, it's identical. In fact, the whole button layout is identical to the DVX. It makes a very good companion to that camera because you know one and you know both of them.
So I don't know, perhaps Kiko, can you just show us? I mean, you want to stick it in your hand? Show us how you can use it. So you can actually just. It's actually light enough to just hold up to one eye, right?
It's only 2 kgs.
It's 2 kgs.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And Richard, who is this? Who is this really for then? I mean, who is the target audience?
I think not broadcasters because of the lack of a 10-bit 422 codec, but certainly for anybody who's ending up with footage on YouTube, on Vimeo, for anything which is 8-bit, this is perfectly more than adequate. So for new shooters, for events, for corporate world, I think this is absolutely perfectly pitched model.
And price? What are we talking for one of these?
UK price, I believe, is about 2,599, including VAT. So very competitively priced too.
Akiko, do you know what this costs in the United States? Have you got an idea what US MS?
It's still discussing, so well.
Watch this space. Okay, thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you very much.